Trust me when I say being skinnier in basketball isn't a death wish. Will it take some extra skill and effort to deal with and use physicality to your advantage? Of course. But look at all these players who are under 185 pounds. Now, are these weights 100% true? That's debatable, but regardless, the point stands. You don't always have to be packing on more muscle to get basketball strong. So I'm gonna give you guys the roadmap to move players around better and be super resistant to contact, even without being one of the heavier players on the court. Let's get it. First off is hitting first. If you wait for them to create contact, and let's just assume they're a bit stronger or bigger, chances are you'll be knocked off your line of attack. But if you're the one to initiate it, it's much easier to take control of that battle. Whether you're on the ground or in the air. But preferably, you create this contact on the ground.
When are you more stable? When you have both feet in the air or both feet on the ground? On the ground, right? So, my goal for you guys is to create that contact before you get up in the air, right? Yes, you may be stable, you may be an athlete who's really good at getting up, taking a bump, and still finishing. If you're doing that 10 times a game, 8 times a game, 5 times a game even, you're gonna come down wrong, right? It's just gonna be a lot to deal with. If you're able to, especially for smaller guards, if you're able to get into them before you get up into the air, you have a lot more options. You can decelerate, you can pivot out of that, you can change direction. So my goal for you guys is to try to get into them before you get up into the air.
Next, if you can get in front of them, this is huge. Because if they do give you a bump from behind you, most likely it's gonna be a foul. So thinking about taking that angle to get slightly in front of them and then maybe bumping them first from here can work wonders for skinnier or smaller players. Next is lowering your center of mass. You know what they say, low man wins. And although this isn't always true, it's much easier for you to handle physicality when you're playing with a low center of mass. So off the first step, especially when that defender's standing a bit higher or they're relaxed, this is a perfect time to go by and essentially through them at a lower level so that you have a strength advantage here. And sometimes taking this long step through the lane once you get downhill can help you slow down, drop that center of mass, and deal with contact better. Along with dropping that center of mass, then there's also one more technical point that's much easier to just show this way.
Come here, I'm gonna tell you a secret real quick. You know what pulling the chair is? Yeah. Do it. Before you get up. That's actually really good. Background, I told him to pull the chair, right? You guys know what that means? He pulled the chair, he still stayed on balance. Why was he able to do that? Wide base. Wide base, that's kind of getting there. The main thing I notice is, especially down here in this area, a lot of players want to throw, basically just throw their upper body. So they're just like, oh, right? It's a lot easier to stay on balance when you're able to source that power from the base. Like you're pushing here rather than throwing here. You see the difference? It's here, I'm more on balance even when I come to 2, versus here, I'm just like, oh, if I don't create that contact, I'm out of there.
Yeah! If you're bumping this way, you're gonna be much more in control. Next is understanding momentum. In scientific terms, momentum is mass times velocity. So even if your mass is less than a defender, you're skinnier, you're smaller, if your velocity or your speed is higher, you can actually win this momentum battle. So this comes down to knowing when your defenders have momentum and when they don't, and therefore when you can take that advantage. This one is big time strategy. We also got to understand that at times, you'll be pushed off balance. Even when we apply all of these techniques, it happens. So we got to train to deal with it. And this could be training tougher, slightly off balance shots like these, which is very reasonable to train. Or it could be working on readjusting your angle to get back onto your line. Notice how all of these guys, when they get hit, don't just give up their line to the basket. They plant and try to get right back on that line to make the drive or the finish easier.
I'm gonna keep it real, I use DoorDash way too much to save time, which is why we've now partnered with DoorDash to make sure that you get on the wave as well. For a limited time, our viewers can get 50% off up to a $20 value.
And in terms of a last resort, one pretty damn good one can be coming to a 2-foot stop. Notice, for example, how Bones gets knocked off balance, and then instead of putting up a crazy off balance shot, comes to 2 feet and works out of there into a tough little fader shot. This is one reason why I'm such a big fan of getting comfortable with 2-foot stops and working out of that. Then lastly is winning the off-arm battle. Oftentimes, stronger players will use a hand check or forearm to impose their will, and as offensive players, it's fully legal for us to get that off of us. So winning this off-arm battle is an easy way to not only neutralize their attempt to play physically, but also to gain an advantage and leave them in the dust. So as you can see, yes, it's about being strong, basketball strong, but it's also about this skill of physicality. If you can get this down, it's going to be tough to be bullied offensively. As always, hopefully you guys learned something from this video. We cover this a lot in my virtual academy programs, just getting basketball strong, dealing with physicality, and a ton more to make you a crafty player. Thank you guys so much for the support. Make sure to follow me on Instagram at ByAnyMeansBasketball for a lot more like this, and stay tuned.
For a limited time, our viewers can get 50% off up to a $20 value and $0 delivery fees when you download the DoorDash app and enter code ByAnyMeans. Don't forget, that's code ByAnyMeans for 50% off up to a $20 value and $0 delivery fees with DoorDash. That's 50% off up to a $20 value and $0 delivery fees when you download the DoorDash app in the App Store and enter code ByAnyMeans. Subject to change, terms apply.